changed. They thought this place was something worth protecting.
Welcome to Helpline. This is the speaker. I'm here with my co-host, the Sharp Edge. How you doing, Edge?
Hey, doing good.
That's good. Today we're just going to have a little bit of conversation because this article came up the other day. And I shot it over to Edge and we're like, yeah, we should talk about this because there's differing opinions about this helpline, and people seem to be quite split about it. So it's more people seeking help to stop sexual feelings towards children.
Yes, this is interesting. So this helpline for people concerned about their own sexual feelings towards children says the number of calls it has received has doubled. Stop It Now is this anonymous helpline, and they have a website which tries to help people understand the reasons for their illegal behavior and how to get support. So the organization says that 94,342 people, this is in the UK, have asked for help via its website and helpline last year, and that was a 119% increase from the previous year, when more than 43,000 people made contact.
That's a crazy increase.
There could be several factors involved. Maybe more awareness of the website, maybe more awareness of the dangers or perils or illegal nature of that. So it could be due to more awareness, but also I think that in general, the child porn industry has grown exponentially year over year.
Doesn't seem to stop, does it?
With the internet and the globalization of the market and the sophistication of the technology and encryption and in dark web networks to be able to mask the users' identities, it's just created a sort of community where people not only can gather to look at this depraved material, but also create a community where they can validate each other. They just have like this sort of subculture where they become desensitized to its nature. And it's like a beast that just keeps growing. And the more they feed it, it never becomes satisfied. It actually becomes more hungry. So like last year, 2019, there was an 18% increase over 2018 in child exploitation related arrests. And let's see, in 1998, there were over 3,000 reports of child abuse imagery. And then just over a decade later, that soared to 100,000 reports. Then by 2014, that number surpassed 1 million for the first time. And then in 2018, we had 18.4 million reports of child abuse imagery. So you see the exponential growth.
It is an epidemic.
It's an epidemic that it's difficult to talk about. People don't want to imagine that this is happening. It's too hard to confront.
Yeah, for some people that are not tackling it as much as we do, I mean, we always have our eyes out for this sort of stuff, and we like to make it public because it is a truth that I think a lot of people don't want to talk about, like you just said. And if they bring this up or if they talk about it, it might bring them down in their own lives, or they might realize that the world is not all sunshine and roses.
True.
So I understand that point, but then again, you need people tackling it and you need people talking about it. And having said that, pointing out those numbers, these 94,000 people that have called this helpline, they're not victims. Sorry. I don't see them that way. I don't care if it's a helpline. But there's obviously differing opinions on here, and that's why we wanted to talk about it. That's why we wanted to get your side of things too. I mean, in my opinion, all pedophiles and anyone looking at this sort of material should go to jail.
Absolutely. You've committed an offense if you've looked at or obtained, downloaded, shared any kind of child pornography. And whether you knew that that was a child or not, I think that some of these people claim that they were sharing things, they weren't aware that some of the individuals were under the age of 18. And that may be the case I know that some young teens get into the porn industry early and may lie about their age, 16, 17, and they could probably pass for 18. But that's a problem in itself too. You have these vulnerable teens who maybe they're coming out of the foster care system, maybe they're runaways, maybe they're drug addicts, whatever. They need the money, they get involved in this industry, and it's really sort of a sex slavery industry for them, where they're kind of pimped around. Even if you're a consenting adult and you're looking at porn that you think is of other consenting adults, you may unwittingly be participating in a scenario such as that and perpetuating that. What do we do about it? We need to have strict regulations on making sure that these people who are working in this industry, which is legal right now, that they are of age, and that we're holding companies who are producing this imagery of adults, that they are confirming it, that the people participating in it are of age.
But I think a lot of these cases will not be porn industry related, even though we know that that does happen. That is the case. I don't think that is the norm among most porn companies. I think in this day and age, a lot of them anyway are quite smart as a business. I mean, because it is a business in any sense of the word, and they're very smart to protect themselves. I mean, they don't want legal troubles, just as you don't want legal troubles in your own business.
Exactly. I mean, it's in their best interest to make sure that their talent, I guess, is of age. But see, I'm reading this article here, and it's saying, tens of thousands of men in the UK are viewing and sharing sexual images of under 18s. These men are our friends, family, neighbors, and colleagues. Most are adults, but a significant portion are teenagers. Many of these men started viewing this illegal material as part of their adult porn habit, somehow not noticing or perhaps caring that these were images of children being abused. So some of them are using this excuse that they were looking at what they believed to be adult porn and not noticing that it was actually images of children, individuals who are underage. So when I say children, I'm referring to anybody that's 17 and younger. And then some of these people are teens. So one thing I do want to mention is that I've been looking at a lot of studies on the child porn industry in general, done by the Justice Department in conjunction with FBI cases. A lot of offenders of child sexual abuse are underage. They are children or young adults themselves. So I'm not totally shocked by this, that a large or significant portion are teenagers who are calling into this tip line.
If you go a bit further down the article, it says that a lot of these people generally, some of them haven't committed a crime. Some of them have simply thought about this or had malice thoughts towards children or something like that. Now, I don't play devil's advocate here. I know it's a touchy subject, but a lot of comments that I've read are like, hang them, string them up, lock them up forever. You can't do that with someone that hasn't committed a crime, though, and this is where it starts getting a little bit of a touchy thing, because then that starts to become authoritarian. That's what they're doing in Europe already when it comes to speech crime and thought crime.
Right.
So that's a real weird sentiment of it.
No, you can't prosecute someone for their thoughts, but if they've viewed, downloaded, shared imagery of child abuse or child sexual abuse, then they have committed a crime.
And they shouldn't be protected by this helpline if that's the case.
No, they shouldn't. And in the case studies I've seen, I saw one, this was done, in 2016? Actually, I think it was done in 2010, and then they reviewed it again in 2016. But anyways, they looked at about 1,600 FBI cases of where they tracked down users of child porn. And of those 1,600 cases, about 33% of those turned out also to be what they call contact offenders, meaning they weren't just looking at images of child abuse, they were acting it out as well. So in a lot of these instances of people who are having these thoughts and who are viewing this material, we know based off of case studies that at least 33%, I would argue more, but at least 33% of them actually have gone on to or will go on to become contact offenders. And so if they've viewed or downloaded or shared material, they've committed a crime and should be pursued for that, because we know, statistically speaking, there's a high chance of them actually becoming abusers as well.
So I'm reading here in the article, whoever they are, they need to know this behavior is illegal, that children are harmed by it, that serious consequences await those involved in it, but that our helpline and website gives anonymous and confidential support and advice to stop and stay stopped. Wait a second, that can be used to any predator's benefit. I mean, you're giving them support and advice to what? Stay safe in what sort of a way? Like, it's all very grey matter here to me.
I don't know a lot about this helpline at all, so I can't tell. I mean, I'd like to see statistics on how it's helped and how they measure that. But I'd like to also point out that nothing's anonymous unless they are using a dark web site. And as far as I know, this is not on the dark web. This is on, you probably Google it, the Stop It Now helpline. So IPs can be obtained, I'm sure. And I don't see that it's entirely anonymous.
Well, I've got this helpline up here, and they do other things as well. It's not just for those things. I mean, it's a helpline to report abuse, actual physical abuse, wife, spouses. So there's different things that they do, but this is like, I guess, another part of it that has been taking off lately.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if a helpline like this actually helps, or if it would possibly even become detrimental in some way, and meaning that providing some sort of validation, some sort of acceptance, some sort of a community among individuals who are feeling this way, to where they now no longer feel like, oh, this is taboo, or, look, there's so many more others like me, kind of validating their thoughts and feelings in a way.
Could they maybe even use that as a defense if something happened? Like, they get caught or something like that, and they go, well, look, I'm trying to seek help. Right. I've been trying to seek help. Look at these calls. Look at these contacts that I've had with these people. I didn't mean it. Maybe it's a mental problem. Maybe they can get off on some sort of mental legality. To me, that seems very plausible.
Right.
Like, for them to use that sort of defense as a backing in case anything ever did happen to them.
Right. I'm just curious how successful this helpline is, and if it's actually a deterrent in any way. To me, the deterrents are more on the punishment side than the help side, meaning we need to just have stricter laws on prosecuting those who commit these offenses. And then the law enforcement side needs to become more savvy technically as to how to work around the sophistication that they have in encryption and evading the law using the dark web, like Tor. These, I think, are the ways that we're going to combat it. And then as a society, I personally believe that the more that we elevate this to the top of the mind awareness, just in general as a society, and the more we pressure our governments to come down hard on these individuals, that is when we're going to start seeing results. Because the more we turn a blind eye to it, the less they are going to make this a priority, the less they're going to fund the law enforcement side of things to go after these criminals. It's really by us as a society pressuring our governments to do something about it.
So it's a really hard thing too, as a society as it is now, which has grown to be millions and billions of people all in this bubble. I mean, if you were to go back 3,000, 4,000 years, these people would be considered defective, just like a murderer would or a rapist would, and they would be pretty much excommunicated from the tribe or killed. those were legitimately how they used to handle these sort of people within their smaller sanctums of society when it was easier to control.
Well, I would say that it depends on the society. Some societies, subcultures of societies, have created like a normalcy about it. Within their societies, there's just like this unspoken understanding that within certain societies that this is something that we do behind closed doors. And like, for example, we can look back at the Catholic Church. You know, for decades and decades, it's almost been institutionalized, the abuse of children. And I've read cases and instances where priests were incorporating it into their doctrine in the way, like warping it and creating, like weaving it into some kind of morality within.
It's the same as Islam. They weaved it into their religion.
Right. And you could even say like subcultures like Boy Scouts, which has been in the news recently when we've discovered that there were 12,000 cases over the course of several decades of abuse. And it almost became part of the culture. You could argue that, yes, that back in the day, this would have been handled just swiftly and severely. But no, this has been going on for decades, centuries even. And there have been certain subcultures that have not only accepted it, but have incorporated it and woven it into their culture and created sort of this belief among some people that it's acceptable within certain parameters. So that needs to be exposed. Because I don't think the general population, I think they're just now starting to become aware of this. And the more we can become aware of it, the more that we speak out about it, and the more we pressure for stricter laws, stricter punishments, then the better off we are at deterring it in the future. And the more savvy that we become as far as who the predators are, where they go, whether it's online or within our communities to access children, the more we get involved in that, the better we can eradicate it. I don't know if we'll fully eradicate it, but it's a start because we're up against this massive beast that just keeps growing exponentially.
100%. That's a good way to finish it off. So let us know about your thoughts on this website. I mean, we'll drop the link underneath the video. Comment and let us know what you think of this. I mean, we're very interested in other people's opinion, though, of course. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you back next time.